Can you tell me a little bit about yourself and about the Jackson County Training School?
I'm Elmore Bryant. I attended Jackson County Training School and graduated from Jackson County Training School. The school changed names before just as I was entering in first grade. It was Gilmore Academy. Then it changed to Jackson County Training School, which I graduated from. I did served on the city commission, led the NACP for 20 years, and became the first black mayor of Marion. I think that's enough. I taught school 30 years in Jackson County and 11 years in Washington County.
Hmm. Okay, can you tell us, do you know why the school's name was changed from the Gilmore Academy to the Jackson County Training School?
Quick history: blacks were not to be taught to read or write during the days of slavery and Jim Crow. A white person could be killed or beat up for teaching blacks to read and write. But after slavery, blacks began to see the need of an education. They established all over the country, even in your community, little 1 through 6th grade schools. And after then, there was nowhere for you to go. You were out. But they realized that every community, St. Paul, Camerton, Cottondale, Bethlehem, some of the schools still stand today that were built for that purpose. Then, after Negroes saw that it was so important for education, they began to ask about secondary education. That's when Mr. R.T. Gilmore and Mr. Rosenwald, a rich man, gave so many $1,000 to secondary education. And that's when Gilmore gave 3 acres of land for the secondary school, which was at Gilmore's Academy. And they started school with on those 3 acres. The city gave a little money and the county gave a little money. And that's about all they got. Mr. Rosenwald gave the money. He gave not only for Jackson County, but he gave for Pensacola, Tallahassee area, and several other areas for secondary schools. At one time, there was only one secondary school that went from 8th grade through 12th grade, and that was Jackson County Training School. It was first Gilmore's Academy. Children from Sneeds, Grand Ridge, you had to catch you a truck or whatever because there were no buses for blacks. Eventually, the school board decided to give blacks buses. But then they made the blacks raise money, the teachers raise money to support all the activities in the school. And finally, when the buses started, we had buses coming in from Sneeds, we had buses coming in from Five Points, we had buses coming from Graceville, Springfield, and they all came to Gilmore's Academy, which later became JCTS. And those kids would get there almost dark in the morning, be dark when they get home at night, but they were determined to get an education. The land that we're talking about was given in 1922, and that's where the St. Luke Baptist Church is today. Negroes also were able to capitalize on working with their hands. Booker T. Washington went to Washington, and I know you've heard of the famous Tuskegee Institute, and the president gave him so much money and said Negroes need to learn to work with their hands. And that's when Negroes start learning how to do carpentry work, lay bricks, along with getting an education. Well, DuBose didn't like that too much because DuBose, and you do a history on him, he was very important in history. DuBose wanted Negroes to learn technology and then do that kind of thing and be able to compete with the whites. And sometime Booker T. Washington was calling Uncle Tom, but at least he got it where Negroes could lay bricks. And now that trade is just about to go away. Negroes did most of the carpentry, laying bricks, and because they learned it from Tuskegee. So the school then had changed names from Gilmore Academy to Jackson County Training School, and it was located in 1922 where St. Luke Church is. Then the school board saw integration coming to keep Negroes from going to Mariana High School. They built quickly JCTS where the middle school is today, and located Negroes out there and gave us the land was bad and hilly, and you can go out there and ride and see that today. And that's why we're asking for that land back, because we think it belongs to the black community, because Gilmore gave the land for the school. They built a gymnasium. That was the only gymnasium in the school. Later on, they built two more black schools, St. Paul, and they built a school in Malone, near Malone, called Union Grove. So you had three black schools, but only one had a gym, and that was Jackson County Training School. The history is so important because it shows how the old folks were struggling and wanted Negroes to be educated, wanted to read and learn to write. And each little church made an effort to start an elementary school to make sure that happened. And thank God for Mr. Rosenwald, who saw the need and gave money all over the nation for secondary schools. And that's how we started being able to go from 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12th grade. That's pretty much a simple history of what is going on, other than the years of Jim Crow and discrimination, where they were taking most of the money and putting in the white schools, and Negroes had to raise money for science clubs, basketball, baseball, and other activities in the schools. They gave that money to the white schools, and most of us didn't have enough buses, but finally they gave us some pass-me-down buses, and they always were sending the raggedy books to the black schools, and the new books went to the white schools. And everything the school board did to prevent integration, it eventually happened. They even canceled a football game because the boy black was on one of the visiting teams. So segregation was then, and it still goes on today because the school board promised to do fair hiring, and as of today, the school board promised the government that they would do certain things along the lines of desegregating the school and bringing everything fair and equal. It hasn't happened as of today. We had a meeting 2 years ago, and they promised the government they were going to do and get all these things done, and they still haven't done what they're supposed to do. And you can still see today the unfair. Young people like you, it's good to know it's still unfair that your chances of getting a job that a white girl applies for is slim and none. So discrimination, racism still goes on today. Ask me questions and I can.
So how is the process going right now for you to reclaim the location?
Right now, we have approached the school board. Uh, we have approached the city, and they're giving us the runaround. We're gonna have to have a lawyer in order to reclaim what we think is rightfully ours, and that is we asking for the gymnasium and the football field uh, out at the middle school, and the city doesn't want to give it up, and the school board has passed it on to the city, and now it's time they almost ready to move in the new school. We was thinking they would do right by now. They're not gonna do right. So that's where it is now.
Okay. And can you tell me about your experience with the city before up until this point?
We, I was very fortunate, and when you see the blacks that serve on the city and the county, is because we sued the city and the county and the school board for single member district. Single member district points out that you can't win any race in Jackson County if you run against everybody, because people all over the county are not going to vote for you. But if you draw out a district where there's predominantly blacks, that's how Willie Spires is able to be on the commission. That's how I was able to serve on the commission. I served on the city commission 7 years. And I was president to bring about that lawsuit that we won from the city. And the city still recognized single member district. I served 7 years, and then I resigned and gave it to another person who served about 20 years. I never had to run because that was odd. The mayor was asked to resign to appoint me to the city commission, and that is history. A black man takes a white man place on an all-white city commission, and that went down in history. And he resigned and they appointed me to the commission. I never won an election.
Okay. And now, in that situation, you had to sue the schools, and sue the city. Does that give you? Does that encourage you in this situation that you could have the same results in reclaiming the
I'm
location?
sad now because what we won and passed on to the young generation, we're about to lose it, because it's time to do the census again. And when you do the census, you got to redraw districts to make sure we got 2 black districts that we can win in. And if you for 2 times they've tried to do away with single member district, but the lawyer wouldn't let them do that. And I know it's going to be tried again, and I hope that the young folks that we've passed on to and we've stepped aside will be brave like you and get information, and not get information and sit on it, but get information and use it and make sure that our rights are protected. Because if we have to run countywide, it's very, I won't say impossible, very difficult to win.
Okay. And is there anything that you could tell me about the Dozier School for Boys?
I worked at Dozier 11 years. In Dozier, all kind of reports came out about Dozier in the 11 years. I came after the days of beating. What stopped the beatings and whippings at Dozier was a young man's mother named Bobby M. Butler lawsuit. They carried the boys to the jail, and they put them in a adult facility and jacked them up with ropes so their toes would very touch the floor, and he got out. Several people likely got in trouble about that, but that lady sued this state, Bobby M. Butler's mother, and she won. And then they made them. They used to keep 600 and 700 boys out there at Doja at one time. They was all on top of each other in double bunk. When they won their lawsuit, ACLU, I think, was part of that lawsuit. They made them cut it down where you couldn't have but one or two boys in a room, and the whole thing changed. All that spanking that went away. They eventually closed the black campus. You had a north campus with the black campus, and south campus was the white campus. Black campus raised the hogs, pigs, lumber, and did the hard work. The south campus, the white boys did meat processing and did all the laundry. And when they integrated, all that changed. And they integrated because a lot of that the Bobby M. Butler lawsuit.
Okay, and can you tell us anything about the current state of it? I've seen it in the news a couple
Current
of years.
state is got there was a picture of me speaking to the governor asking for that property.
Mm-hmm.
And when the county got it, they acted just like I was invisible. They didn't let me have any voice in it. They called themselves renamed it, but the same thing that happened there then can't be changed.
Mm-hmm.
And they renamed it, and they supposed the sheriff department, I think, is using part of it, and they got ideas they want to do on the other part. But the group that went to Tallahassee to speak to the governor was me and 5 other white men. And when the county got it, they just ignored us. So that's where it is now.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, it sounds like the legal system and a lawyer is important in all of this. Do you know of any lawyers that you would trust in?
Right now,
Yes.
right now, what I would say to young people like you, go to law school. I saw something and my eyes became wide open. I went to the graduation at the University in Washington, D.C. of my nephew. And I noticed in education, there was 60 or 80 graduating. I noticed in the School of Science, there was 60 or 80 graduating. But I noticed nearly 200 was graduating in law, and only 2 or 3 blacks. So I asked my nephew, what's going on? He said the Spanish people, especially from Cuba, they are sending their children to college to get an education. Right now to you, I'm saying to you today, in your report, we are lacking of legal advice. And if I had to say anything, I would raise money every nickel I could to send 4 or 5 black kids like you to get your degree what you want now, but I would certainly want to send you to law school because we need legal advice. We sign stuff, don't know what we're signing. We lose land. Companies sell us bad cars, and we sit there and don't know how to reply, and we end up, they garnish our check. If we had legal advice, some of this wouldn't happen. So I would say this whole report, young folks need to refocus and get us some lawyers out of the group that's going to college now.
That was my next question was what advice would you give to those
That's my
trying?
strong advice.
Mm-hmm.
I need to see, before the good Lord called me home, I need to see 3 or 4 young folks. I don't care whether girls or boys. So, young lady in Georgia has shown that women can do. I would like to see 2 or 3 in college, in law school. I don't care whether you go to FAMU Law School or whether you go to FSU Law School, long as you get a law degree, because we need you. And in the Panhandle, it is ridiculous. If you don't think it's ridiculous, you go up to the court and watch some of those people they plead. The lawyer got a stack of folders. They plead all of them, no contest, no contest, no contest. Put them on probation. And when they put you on probation, what they setting you up? When you stump your toe, you go into prison or jail. If we had lawyers, we would have somebody to do something about that. So my advice, find us 3 or 4 young women, young men, and put everything we can behind them and make sure they don't start college, but they finish and get a degree in law.
Is there anything else that you would like to add that I did not ask?
Right now, as a community, we're far behind in education, and with this virus and the way we have in school by technology, and blacks don't have Wi-Fi, our children gonna get further behind. Our children can't read. And what I'm saying is, I advise us parents to get on the ball and let's make this happen. All right?
All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.